On to the race to power in the U.S. Joe Biden and Donald Trump have a new rival. He is literally anybody else. Literally anybody else, that's the name. That wasn't the case always. The man used to go by the name Dustin Abe. He is a 35-year-old U.S. Army veteran from Texas. He teaches maths to 7th grade students, but now he has decided to run for the elections. He wants to give Biden and Trump competition for the presidential post. Although he needs 113,000 signatures from non-primary Texan voters by May to get his new name on the ballots, which seems highly unlikely, but still, the man is trying his luck. Why is he doing that? He says he is not satisfied with either of the front-runner candidates. Abe, or literally anybody else, says he's tired of the constant power grab, the tussle between Republicans and Democrats, and Americans don't have many options to choose from. And so he changed his name to prove a point. He says it's not only his name, but an idea, a rally cry. U.S. voters don't have a none of the above or neither option on the ballot, so he basically wants to serve as that option. Is he wrong? The man does have a point. This year, Americans won't be voting for the best candidate, but for who is slightly better than the other one. They will be choosing between the king of debt and the king of gaffes, between a 77-year-old and an 81-year-old. Both Biden and Trump face their own challenges. Let's just talk about President Biden first. He is the most unpopular president since the end of the Second World War. Right after coming to power, he ordered a hasty and chaotic evacuation of troops from Afghanistan. 2 weeks later, when the crisis ended, 13 U.S. service members had been killed. Hundreds or more U.S. citizens, along with Afghans, had been left to fend for themselves under the Taliban's brutal rule. This was just the beginning. Biden's war on fossil fuels helped drive domestic production down and gasoline prices through the roof. And then he begged the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, a foreign oil cartel, to produce more oil. And this will result in the same emissions as domestically produced oil. Under the Biden administration, 2 wars have broken out in the world, and both have been handled very poorly. Just months after Biden's disastrous retreat from Afghanistan, Russia invaded Ukraine. From the start, Biden took the moral high ground, framing the conflict in Ukraine as a global one. Between democracy and autocracy, he rejected Moscow's fears of NATO expansion towards its borders as baseless. He also overestimated Ukraine's capacity for war. He has been sending aid to Ukraine, but only after a lot of pleading. And this has not only prolonged the war, but also weakened the support in the Congress for military aid to Ukraine. And now his handling of the Israel-Hamas war seems to be the final nail in the coffin. He failed to rein in the civilian casualties in Gaza. He also failed to send in enough humanitarian aid despite multiple U.S. high-level visits to West Asia. A ceasefire or hostage exchange still looks like a far cry, and now it seems it won't be able to dissuade Israel from launching a ground offensive in Rafah either. And when asked about truce, President Biden casually gave out deadlines while licking ice cream. You heard that right. Take a look.
Well, I hope by the beginning of the weekend. The end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday we'll have a ceasefire. Pretty delicate with the President of the United States and the number of 2 things: Ray-Ban sunglasses and lace.
Can you believe that? Clearly, Biden will also be remembered for butchering U.S. diplomacy and embarrassing himself. Let's talk about the other candidate now, former President Donald Trump, the first one in American history to be criminally charged. To begin with, he is embroiled in 4 legal cases, facing as many as 91 charges, and it does not even stop there. He also faces several civil cases relating to his business empire, sexual abuse allegations, defamation, and then there are financial troubles. Trump has about 10 days to come up with a $175 million bond in his New York civil fraud case. And to top it all, there are his reckless public remarks. In February, he provoked an unusually quick rebuke from leaders around the world. How? He said that he would encourage Russia to do whatever they want to any NATO member that does not live up to the goals they agreed on in 2014. A direct invitation to war and such disdain for NATO. It did not go exactly in Trump's favor. My point is clear, I guess. These are the options that Americans have this year. Would they rather choose literally anybody else is the question. Is this the end of TikTok? Why do I ask that? Because it looks like a new social media application is here to outthrow TikTok, at least in the Western markets. I'm talking about the app called Xiaohongshu, which translates to Little Red Book in English. The app has over 300 million monthly active users. According to reports, young Americans are now signing up on Xiaohongshu. They have a reason to set up their account on this new Chinese social media app. Apparently, users in the US are tired of receiving fake compliments and offensive comments. Let's just understand this better with an example. In the West, when you ask someone, how do I look? Chances are they will say, you look great, no matter what. It is this statement, in a way, that the American youth is opposing and is tired of, as per reports. They believe Xiaohongshu provides them with honest and civil feedback. Case in point, if a user wants honest opinion on a haircut, for example, they explicitly ask for it. App users also don't shy away from sharing their true opinions. Some share tips on how it could be made better. Others are quick on giving advice on what hairstyle would look best according to their face structure. While Xiaohongshu is gaining popularity in the US now, the app has been in existence for years. The Chinese online platform, which was established in 2013, is often described as Beijing's answer to Instagram. It started out as an app for Chinese travelers seeking shopping tips, and over the years, Xiaohongshu has evolved into a user-generated encyclopedia. It focuses on beauty, shopping, travel, and lifestyle topics. For example, on how to get through pregnancy or recover from divorce. These are also being discussed on the social media platform. The emergence of a new Chinese online app could not be more ill-timed as far as TikTok is concerned. Now, if TikTok does not adhere to American laws, the app could soon be banned in the country. According to a bill passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, ByteDance, the parent company of TikTok, has 6 months to divest TikTok or face a total ban in the country. Apart from the U.S., the U.K. government, in fact, has also raised concern over TikTok's security policy. TikTok is already banned in several countries, of course, including India. There are fears that TikTok could harvest user data which could be exploited by China. When it comes to Chinese apps, privacy has always been a cause of concern, and now it remains to be seen how the U.S. authorities would deal with the growing popularity of Xiaohongshu, which perhaps could become the next TikTok. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stands more isolated than ever. His global allies are slowly turning their back on him. So are those at home. Just have a look at what really is going on. The United Nations Security Council has passed a resolution. It has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. All while the US, Israel's biggest supporter in this war, stood aside and watched. Yes, the US abstained from voting. This fell short of Israel's expectations. You see, Netanyahu wanted Biden to veto the resolution, but that clearly did not happen. There were bound to be some repercussions. And it did not take too long. Soon after the resolution was passed, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called off a delegation visit to the United States. Two of his top advisors were scheduled to visit America. They were supposed to discuss the Rafah offensive, which, remember, Israel has been threatening for a while. But now the talks have been stalled, and the fate of Rafah hangs in the balance. Netanyahu has further accused the US of abandoning its policy in the UN, and the US has reacted by saying that it is perplexed by the Israeli decision. The entire fiasco has exposed the growing rift between the two sides. You see, this is the strongest public clash between Netanyahu and Biden, and it's not going to do well for Israel, which is nearing total isolation on the world stage. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned of the same a few days ago, in fact. Listen into this.
As we've said, though, a major military ground operation in Rafah is not the way to do it. It risks killing more civilians. It risks wreaking greater havoc with the provision of humanitarian assistance. It risks further isolating Israel around the world and jeopardizing its long-term security and standing.
But the Israeli Prime Minister does not agree. Here's what he has to say.
I met today with Secretary of State Blinken. I told him that I greatly appreciate the fact that for more than 5 months, we are standing together in the war against Hamas. But I also said that we have no way to defeat Hamas without entering Rafah and eliminating the rest of the battalions there. And I told him that I hope we will do it with the support of the United States. But if we have to, we will do it alone.
As you can see, the allies have been openly contradicting each other. And they have been doing so for a while now, by the way. Netanyahu went so far as to say the IDF will enter Rafah even if it does not have America's blessings. Just where is Netanyahu even getting this confidence from? Whose support does Israel have if the US pulls out? France too, also, in fact, has been hardening its stance on Israel. During a phone call on Sunday, the French President Emmanuel Macron warned Netanyahu against displacing Gazans from Rafah. He said this would be a war crime. And now the Royal Air Force has also begun to intervene. It is airdropping aid into Gaza. This is a first ever since the war broke out. And in another first, it had voted yes in the UNSC vote, while it had abstained from voting in the earlier 3 ceasefire resolutions. What does this mean? That Netanyahu is being abandoned by everyone, is it? Not only abroad, but at home as well, in fact. Polls have been showing that if an election is held now, Netanyahu would be soundly defeated. Usually his lawmakers do his bidding and defend his actions, but now it seems even his coalition is shaky. Veteran Israeli minister Gideon Sa'ar has announced his departure. This comes after his demands to be appointed to the high-level war cabinet were not met. And this is what he had to say.
I can't carry the responsibility if I do not have, in my judgment, a real possibility to influence the direction of policy. I simply do not see any benefit in this. Therefore, with a heavy heart, I announced a while ago my intention to resign from the government and signed a letter of resignation to the Prime Minister, according to Section 22 of law related to the foundation of government.
And with that, Netanyahu's coalition has shrunk from 76 to 72 seats in the 120-member parliament. While there is no immediate threat to the government's stability, it still is a warning sign. Benny Gantz has threatened to quit the government as well if the Haredi draft bill, which exempts ultra-Orthodox Jews from conscription, is passed. You see, pressure is mounting on Prime Minister Netanyahu from all sides. What will he do is the question.